So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the speakers. Again, we have another very interesting session 4, about the multiple benefits of green infrastructure for people and places. So we had a wonderful and very informative day. Started this morning with a nice introduction from our colleagues from the Joint Research Center about the multiple, about the benefits of greening 35% of European impervious surfaces. So a very nice modeling exercise that set the scene at the beginning of the day. Then we went through green infrastructure and building, so exploring and going through the discussion that is ongoing discussion actually on the within the framework of the energy performance of building directive. Then we looked at green infrastructure for resilience to extreme weather events, so very much concerning the stormwater management and adaptation. Then in the afternoon, the session 3, we'll session 4. As I said, we will look at green infrastructure and their impact on people well-being, health, and how they can facilitate or support participation, inclusiveness of people and citizens. We have again a wonderful panel of speakers. So quickly I'll go through the names. So we have Jennifer Bousselot from Colorado State University, Department of Horticulture and Landscape Architecture. We have Laura Gatti. Laura is an agronomist, landscape consultant, architect, co-designer of the iconic multi-awarded Bosco Verticale in Milan. We have Ruth Reichstein, advisor on Green Deal and New European Bauhaus from IDEA. Maybe Ruth, you can tell us after what is IDEA from European Commission. We have Patrick Princen from the Municipality of Mechelen, Belgium. Municipality that's been awarded European Green Leaf 2020. And then we have Jure Sumi, that is in this session is representing the business group of the World Green Infrastructure Network. I think we can start, and I would start this panel, the discussion with Jennifer. Jennifer, first of all, again, thank you very much for being with us. I would like to ask you, considering the work you have been doing and also some very inspiring speeches that we have been able to see and to listen, made by you also in the framework of TED and so on, really nice things that you have been organizing. So what are the multiple benefits of rooftop agrivoltaics, and what is the co-location of solar panels, so photovoltaics, and food production on rooftops? It is a very interesting topic. In the previous sessions, we had a lot of discussions and a lot of very interesting debate about this, about actually the opportunity of combining photovoltaic and green infrastructure with a holistic vision of addressing both the energy but also the climate and biodiversity crisis. So I mean, here is a bit difficult to understand which crisis is more crisis. So I mean, we really are living difficult times. But I think you have very interesting things to tell us. Jennifer, I leave you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Luigi. I really appreciate it. I'm delighted to be invited to this conversation. I do want to share a few slides as well to sort of show the work that my lab and I have been participating in rooftop agrivoltaics. But in short order to answer your question, really the benefit is the synergy between the plants and the panels themselves. So the plants end up benefiting from that sort of modulation of extreme environments that especially here in Colorado, US, where we have high solar radiation, very dry conditions. We only get about 300 millimeters of moisture a year as precip. So it helps prevent evapotranspiration for the plants, but the evapotranspiration that the plants do provide end up cooling the panels. So we end up with a more efficient panel system. And so what my lab is really looking at how solar panels actually influence the growing environment underneath for the plants themselves, and then reciprocally how the plants end up benefiting. Of course, at a larger scale, to think at it at a more city scale, it's imperative that we focus on the consumables, right? We as humans consume energy and food, and even our pollinators need space for food in urban areas. And so that's where we see rooftop agrivoltaics really coming into play. So I'm going to share my screen and just walk through very briefly, not much data, I promise, some of the work that we've done on rooftop agrivoltaics. So this is, sorry, can't get to the right spot. This is one of the locations that we have rooftop agrivoltaic screening work done. So really, if you're not familiar with the term, it's agrivoltaics is the combination of agriculture and photovoltaics. Most of that is applied on the ground. We are unique in studying the rooftop agrivoltaics, although we have interest worldwide since I presented my work through TED Talk, but TEDx Talk. So here's a picture of me from about 15 years ago as I was starting my PhD work. It was about the same time that Manfred Kohler published the first work I'm aware of on biosolar roofs, so incorporating solar panels on green roofs. And we noticed the same exact effect. You can see a solar panel array behind me. At first, I was frustrated with the fact that there was solar panel coming up on my research area, but the synergy became absolutely crystal clear in the benefits to the plants and the panels in their co-location. So here, years later, as I'm faculty and have resources for graduate students, we have started work on agrivoltaics. So here's just a quote: half the world population lives in urban areas. So we need to look at rooftops, right, as spaces to help produce both energy and food. So we did a pilot research. Literally, it was a series of trays on a shoestring budget from an old project that we had completed. And we just screened crops and native plants for pollinators. And we saw a massive difference in full sun versus under solar panels. And so, of course, we're doing this on the ground here. That's because at universities, we have very limited resources. But we saw such a stark difference, we decided to expand because my university is investing in rooftop agrivoltaics, but not soon enough for me to get tenure. So we installed on the ground under some existing solar panels arrays, about 150 square meters of rooftop agrivoltaic screening area. So we installed, I hired one of my friends and colleagues that does green roof installations. We installed a green roof system under some panels. And we tried a series of studies. So we looked, of course, at the sedum, traditional sedum tile mix. We also looked at vegetable crops. And this is a picture from last growing season, but we're actually starting our series of crops trials this year. We're looking more at leafy greens, since leafy greens have such a short shelf life and they're so nutrient dense. And then we also include, because one of my emphasis areas is food for pollinators, so pollinator species. So one thing I want to mention in all of our studies, if you see the center picture of the lettuce, the tomatoes and the peppers, we were just screening crop reaction to the solar panel environment. But what you'll see is semi-transparent panels. So these happen to be cadmium telluride. panels that are 40% transparent. And this means that we end up with an effect that's almost like having a greenhouse over the plants. And I call this, not very technically, because my colleague who does controlled environment agriculture sort of shudders every time I say it, but I call this semi-controlled environment because we see a modulation in plant stress because it's sort of like sunglasses for our crops. So we're evaluating plant response to, of course, the traditional opaque panels, but also under semi-transparent panels as well. So I won't get too much into the data, but just notice at the peak, this is a day and a series of temperatures we took at various locations. The key thing to note is in the middle of the day when plant stress is at its maximum in a high solar radiation environment like ours, we see a modulation under the solar panels to the degree of about 1.3 degrees centigrade, which is a massive reduction in plant stress. It prevents quite a bit of photo inhibition in the plant. So it's more efficient water use and energy use inside of the plants. We're also really curious at how the solar panels themselves influence how the light, and not to get into it too much, but here you see the spectrum of light. Plant available radiation is 400 nanometers to about 700 nanometers. And so you see in full sun, we have a very high light intensity. We see a modulated, but not a dark environment under the semi-transparent solar panels. So my lab is really interested in this. We currently have had to actually import from China all of our panels that are semi-transparent. They are not UL listed. That's a requirement here to be on the grid for solar panels, but we are working with domestic providers that will have UL listed, both cadmium telluride and the traditional silicon panel types. So as I mentioned, we're actually, we're expanding on an actual green roof on top of a 4-story building in our largest city in Colorado, Denver, Colorado. My university is housed an hour north of there, but we are putting in 3 buildings of a campus in our major urban area, and this central focus is urban agriculture. And so I get 2 rooftops to do research on, and one of them is going to be almost entirely on rooftop agrivoltaics. So we're going to have almost another doubling of size available to screen crops. So look for a series of publications. We've already got one coming out hopefully later this year, and I have several graduate students working on that effort. So thank you, Luigi, for the opportunity to be able to share our work.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Very, very interesting. And I will already anticipate that I will be in touch after this day, because in session 1, as I told you, we have been discussing this morning with the industry representative from solar and green infrastructure, which is quite, as far as I know, quite unique. I mean, it is still something that doesn't happen at scale, at the necessary scale. But we have decided that we will go ahead and organize some technical workshops to discuss some of to put together around the table the 2 industries and understand how to develop synergies, strategies, and how to make the most of these 2 important technologies. So we'll be in touch, but I will come back to you also with some other questions after this first round of presentation. So I'd like to go now to Ruth. First of all, Ruth, if you can tell us a little bit more about your work and idea, I think is interesting for our colleagues, speakers, and participants to understand. And then for the purpose of this discussion, we wanted to ask you more information about the European Commission work on this important concept, this new European Bauhaus movement, in particular with about its greening of buildings dimension, and also we also, as World Green Infrastructure Network, have been mobilized by this movement. So, I mean, we see that there is a lot of interest, a lot of stakeholders. There are some events coming up in the next weeks. So, I don't know if you want to give us your first, perhaps, feedback about the contribution, the feedback you are hearing from stakeholders, especially on the importance of implementing green spaces on our building and more in general in the built environment. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Luigi. I have been very impressed by the presentation that just happened before. Mine will be very much less scientific, yeah, so well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a very nice opportunity to connect with this greening community. And I will of course make it the link between the European Bauhaus and what you are doing. I mean, just very quickly, idea is the let's say advisory board to the president. So we are there to bring fresh ideas from the outside inside the commission, and sometimes also vice versa. We are working on the different political priorities of the president. On the Green Deal, and I coordinate the European Bauhaus for the president.
Ruth, sorry, I don't know.
So very much in our famous repower communication.
Sorry, Ruth. I mean, the connection is not very good. So I don't know. I don't think it's only my problem. I mean, I'm asking the other speaker. No. So maybe I will have to come back to you because we cannot hear you at all. Actually, there is a metallic voice sound. Maybe. Do you want to try now? I don't know. I see, because also the video had been. No.
I don't know what is happening because I'm in a Wi-Fi, so I don't know what that is.
Go ahead. Now it's better. Maybe it was only that moment. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let me know if.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, because you are still all frozen on my screen. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry for that. Always nice technical problems still. I was just saying, so idea is the internal think tank and advisory board to the president. We are working on the different priorities of the president, including the Green Deal. So that's what I'm mainly doing. So at the moment, very much busy with Repower EU, the communication that will come next week to, with the plan how we can get independent of fossil fuels, especially from Russia. And then I also coordinate the European Bauhaus for the president, and that's why I'm here, I think. So I mean, I don't want to like start from zero on the European Bauhaus. I would hope that there is a kind of understanding what it is. It has been launched by the president 2 years ago, almost now, with the idea to bring a cultural and creative dimension to the European Green Deal, and with this idea behind to say, well, if we want to make this transformation a success, we cannot only do that with technical means, but we also need to speak to the mind and the heart of the people, and that's why we want to bring in also more this art, open hearts and minds in a way. But of course, this is a project of the Green Deal, and therefore obviously also very much looking into how we can make our buildings greener and more energy efficient and more climate friendly. And there obviously you see already the link with what you are doing, and I see Laura will come in later on, but I mean, this is just one example that we have already used also in the European Bauhaus, and at our festival that will take place in a bit less than a month now, we will also have a panel on permeable cities, where indeed we will also dive into this question, how we can make sure that our cities are more speakers. So I think, I mean, the first thing that we try to do with the Bauhaus is that we try to raise your, again, all frozen in my screen. Can you just tell me if you still hear me? Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Good. The first thing that we do is just also to raise more awareness, because I mean, buildings, and you probably all know, that are responsible for 40% of the global energy consumption and CO2 emissions, and it's really huge. And
No, unfortunately, the connection, I think now. No, we need to move on. Maybe we will go back to this point. So I remember Ruth was mentioning the building consumption and emissions. So I will give her this point of reference. So let's move on. She will reconnect. Patrick, and the municipality of Mechelen. The municipality has been nominated European Green Leaf 2020. What are the actions that have been implemented in the city to be awarded this title? I think this is something interesting for us to understand. And have you considered integrating vegetation on Mechelen's roof to support also other objectives of the city? For example, developing green spaces for biodiversity, adaptation to prevent rainwater overflows, or improving inhabitant citizens' well-being. You know, the floor is yours. Give us your, tell us more about the work carried out in Mechelen.
Thank you, Luigi. Thank you for the floor also. What in the assessment jury, we scored best in 3 domains. It was waste and circular economy, sustainable urban mobility, and nature, biodiversity, and sustainable land use. Perhaps I am going to pick a little bit the things out that were important. Regarding to circular economy, they were most impressed by our waste management of recycling, our steps in the sharing economy with tools, library, repair cafes, but also by food we created, by coffee. We make shrimps by coffee, and circular economy. The sharing economy is also an important part of our mobility plan. From the beginning, the city has stimulated mobility as a service for cars and bicycles. So it's not need to have an own car and an own bicycle in Mechelen. The supply created with financial aid of 2 million euro the last 2 years from the city allowed the demand to grow. Apart from that, we have been limiting the number of cars in the city center for years and are investing a lot of money in new, safe and comfortable bicycle infrastructure, almost 18 million the last 3 years. Nature and biodiversity and sustainable land use correlates best with the topics of this today. Here, the jury of the EGIDay gave us the best score regarding biodiversity and conservation and sustainable land use management. Our good and constructive relationship with Natuurpunt. It's a nature conservation organization that protects the nature, and that has in Mechelen, in the city, 5,000 members and more than 200 volunteers, creates a lot of opportunities for nature in and around the city. This collaboration has improved even more the last few years. We are now in collaboration with several nature conservation organizations and governments to create a large nature park in the Mechelen region. Together, we work towards the creation of a large interconnected area of 5,000 hectares or more. This park will create a green belt around the city with green and blue connection with the city center itself and also on the roofs of the city. Jennifer already said, roofs have a lot of potential towards creating more sustainable city. It's not so hot as in Colorado here in Belgium. It rains a lot, but now the next 6 weeks it rained completely not. But it can be also our rainwater collectors, the roofs. Our solar energy production is also important, and our green spots. The best option is that they can be a combination of these three. And I think Jennifer works on it, and I'm very interested in it. We provide subsidies for people who construct a green roof. We do this because not only the homeowner of our tenant profits from these, but the whole city does. For the people living in the house, the main advantage is insulation and coolness, but the extra biodiversity and water retention is also a bonus. The same is true for the city itself, where a classic roof is a biological desert that produces more heat and lets rainwater flow straight to the shores. A green roof provides an extra green spot, absorbs water and heat, and creates a more healthy environment in the city. So we are still working on this, and we are still making more subsidies to the green roofs, but we also are adapting our plans for spatial planning to make sure that the city can grow and thrive in a substantial way. We also adjust our building code to make sure that all new homes and all new neighborhoods are ready for the future, also with green roofs. That are a few of things that we try to realize now at this moment. And it's not only on roofs we do that kind of things, but we also buy at this moment a lot of green areas as city to conserve it and to make it open for the public as so everyone can have the benefits of it. That are a few things we do in Mechelen.
Wow, thank you very much, Patrick. Just one question: for the new building, so the green roof is mandatory?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not each great project. We demand the developers to think about it and now every great building that is constructed, even renovation and so on. Always we look at the plans if it's possible to met a green roof on it. So you see the last few years, every architect, every building that's created, there is always, not completely, but a green roof on top of it. Sometimes with solar panels, but sometimes also with water containing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Patrick, I will come back to you after the end of first round, because I would like to ask you more information about this aid financing support schemes. Maybe you can give us more information again. It's good for us to learn what you're doing, so that we can transfer certain knowledge and experiences. Okay. Then I would like to go to Laura. Laura, again, much for being with us. With you, I would like to ask you, you had the wonderful experiences on different projects. You said it yourself now across the globe. But there is this, the Bosco Verticale in Milan is iconic projects that we can see actually on the background of the screen. So I would like to ask you to share some of the experience in co-designing and implementing this project in Milan. If you can also highlight some of the obstacles, the barriers, how you address them, and anything I think you can share with this group to enhance, to help us to strengthen actually our understanding of this element, so that we can advance this agenda at European level. Please, Laura.
Thanks for inviting me. First of all, let me say that I'm so happy to hear by Jennifer about her experience, because I'm totally convinced that the photovoltaic green roofing, it will be the future. And if you are going to arrange something to teach how to do in the best way, I'm the first in the line, because for our regulation, we are Italian, so we are going through the ecological transition, and I guess that this will be the unique possibility to realize a green roof over a building. So I think this is absolutely the future. In my country, I'm recognized sometimes as a pioneer of the implementation of green infrastructure in the urban environment. And actually in 20 years, I have seen green roofing change, evolve, transforming from luxury to an extraordinary opportunity to improve the condition of life in our cities. And we help in this, try to identify the right solution to realize an integrated, a connected environment focusing on sustainability, because just extreme gardening, this has to be something that it works in terms of saving of resources, low maintenance needs, and especially what we didn't recognize at the beginning, the incredible impact on well-being on people and the biodiversity potential increase. In this example, it's essential that the building is conceived from the beginning to be vegetated and not only to host vegetation. This was totally realized in the case of the Bosco Verticale, but there are different experiences around the world, and you could recognize that if you don't put respect towards the vegetation, it could be possible that the result is not so good. This means to have to reach some compromise with the architecture, with design in general. To apartments, decreasing the needs for air conditioning up to 50%. And we experience leaving the building, the psychological benefit effects to residents. And we are amazed when we saw the incredible life that this kind of building hosts. In every location, every situation, now we are working from Brazil to China in different climate, also hyper-arid climate. Our approach is the same because we have the focus, the sustainability as focus. The relative weight in which the single aspect has developed are depending on the situation of the climate, on the condition, but the plan palette that we design as specialists is not focused on aesthetical effects, not at all, is the last set of criteria, because before we have different criteria from the ecological, ecophysiological needs of the vegetation, ensure the relation of the building in relation to the environmental condition. And this has led us to develop many studies after the traditional studies, because we are working especially on the facade, the vegetation on the facade that is different than putting vegetation on the rooftop. We have to deal with a lot of effects, and we select the vegetation after this kind of study. At this point, also to increase the livability of the space, not only to evaluate the wind forces, because we have proved that the trees on the facade, the vegetation is actually decreasing the wind pressure on the facade up to 15%. So is not so it could be a service, it could be an amelioration of the building. So this is what we learn by working, working with this kind of buildings, that most of the, let me say, cliché are absolutely not real. This could be a safe system, a safer system. We could help people to live in a tall building without experiencing a void sensation. So you are feeling better, sure. You are feeling better when you live in relation with a green surrounding around your living space. So there are many technical considerations in designing those buildings, but what we work in an international level, we also have understood that we have to pay attention also to the trends in garden design that are different from country to countries in the garden history, and in general to the culture of the society in which we are working. And one of the most crucial goals for us now is try to improve this kind of and vegetation, familiar trees or something that could be eaten, or something that even not expert can easily recognize. So this is one of the interesting aspects of our work. Surely there are many technical aspects that can be solved, but the Bosco Verticale is here since more than 10 years to tell us that it could be possible.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Laura, for all this very useful information. Maybe before going to you, Jure, for your part, I mean, I just wanted to ask you, Laura, in the previous session and in the one before, session 1, I launched this idea. I was discussing with Jutta Paulus, and I was discussing this energy performance of building directive, and I find extremely inconsistent, incoherent with the agenda and with the challenges that we have ahead of us in cities and you know, in energy, climate, biodiversity, and so on. That the definition in the proposal of the European Commission, the definition of what is it's the zero emission buildings, is new Z building, doesn't include any element of the integration of vegetation. So I just wanted to, I mean, what do you think? I mean, you know, especially if we are looking at new buildings, if we are looking at the decarbonization of the building stock by 2050, but much before then, I think we need to reduce the consumption of building, the reduction of demand, but in general, we need to transform the built environment as soon as possible. So, I mean, I think from what you said, I feel that this would be, I mean, would you agree with this, such a change within the directive? Because I think that proposal must be corrected to allow.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah.
Probably we need a lobby in some place, because, for instance, in our country, for another very important topic that is water, okay, we have a regulation that don't take into account green roofing for the water control. So it's crazy, no? Especially because these are multifunction solution. Okay, you are designing a roof for that solution, but we obtain other benefits that could balance. So it's a matter of balance in any case. So I'm absolutely agree, and yes, something that could be taken into consideration. Surely we need to more deeper in evaluating this kind of buildings in terms of performance in general, in terms of performance, and we are happy to share all our experience, especially also in terms of pollution removal, for instance, because We did some tests on the Bosco, trying to understand how the pollutants move along the facade, and identify the most efficient plants and introducing those plants in the new intervention. So there's a long way to do, but we have to keep in mind that we don't have to waste time. Yeah, because we are working for the next generation.
Absolutely, very fascinating. Thank you, Laura. Jure, maybe you want to say a few words about this your role within the World Green Infrastructure Network Board as representative of industry, but also, you know, I think you are one of the drivers of this EU chapter. So I think we've been working a lot also on this European Green Infrastructure concept last year for the first edition, and now, you know, for the edition of this year. So I think we're doing a lot of work in this area. But beside, I would like to ask you to share some experiences on projects that you have realized, but also there is some very interesting work that you have done on monitoring, on measuring some benefits. I think if you want to give us an overview on all of this, would be very, very useful. Thank you.
Yeah, I will just share. I did short presentation, so I will share the presentation to you. So I guess you see it, right?
Yes, we do.
Very good. Yeah, so yeah, I have been involved actually in the green infrastructure for the past 10 years. So starting in the end of 2012. So it's 10 years since I'm really deeply involved into this, and since 2018, really in-depth working with colleagues who are already today on the sessions as part of the World Green Infrastructure Network, especially European chapter. And this relates to the, you know, to the Laura's point, you know, we need to lobby more. So this is what we are trying to do, really to lobby, to give the inputs to the legislators to know why the green roofs are a necessity, not something nice to have, but something in need to have. So maybe to show some of the projects that either me together with the colleagues realized, or our members, so members of the World Green Infrastructure, they just to somehow see, you know, the correlation between the green in the urban environments and the city. So this is this is a project which is done in Portugal. So this used to be a gray square. They built an area with shops and parking garages. So ideally, you know, initially should be a parking garage on top, and so just a gray area. But luckily, the municipality gave an order to do something more, so something for the people. So you can see how the green on top of the building, which is becoming sort of a living square where people can meet, enjoy, sit, have a barbecue even, or a small, you know, sitting together, discussing how this can improve the entire area itself. If you can imagine, if this would be gray, people would just walk by. They would not stop. And this is where we see why the green in the dense urban areas are so important. If I go further, this is a project we did actually. I'm based in Slovenia, so we are doing a lot of small projects, small and mid-sized and bigger projects in Slovenia. And this was actually another project which we did with the people. So it's a school, and there was a competition driven by the local NGO to do a roof on the school. And then the best idea got the financing to do the green roof. And this was actually the idea of the students of the school in the city of Kranj in Slovenia, where actually they did a green roof, but they also did a rooftop garden where they are growing different type of plants. They teach how to do the proper horticulture. They also learn how the green roof can do the stormwater management, because the implementation of the roof is not just the green, it's not just the aesthetic, but it's also the functionality. And this one has a special system, which is on one side detaining a lot of the rainwater, and it has also a system which is retaining a lot. So we retain a lot, and we also detain, so that the massive storms which are happening are not basically putting too much pressure on the local sewage system, because the majority of the city still has the, the old town or the old part of the city still has the combined sewage system. So the storm water and the regular house waters are combined in one system. So what we want to do is to lower the burden from the rainwater. This was a project which was sent to me by the colleagues from the Scandinavian Association. And this is an example. This is extremely dense area in Malmö in Sweden. It's a bike hotel, and they were able to do a multi-story green roofs, which is also on the end, on the bottom, having sort of a rain garden. So the majority, almost majority of the rainwater is actually captured in the several layers of the green roofs of this hotel, and only a small amount is actually passing further into the sewage system. At the same time, it also makes the entire hotel for the for the residents, for the bikers, much more appealing. So it also brings a lot of the life, a lot of the pollinators, birds, and also small animals, I was told. Another nice project, which was shared to me by the Italian association by Studio Rigoli. This is the plant, the factory of Ferrari in Maranello, and actually they have a green roof on inside, but also on the roof or around the area of the entire factory. And it's actually amenity space for relaxation where people can go and relax in the nice environment. It also has a positive benefit, I have been told, not just for the well-being, but also due to the fact that now people don't need to go out of the factory down looking for some green spaces. So they stay there, they enjoy, they talk, and they have a much better social life in the company. Another project, this is from capital where I live in Ljubljana. So this was built not a long time ago. So luckily, Ljubljana has implemented the mandatory green roofs for all the projects which are above 400 square meters. So this is the big one. It has a lot of different things on top of the roof. There is a basketball court, there is a 300-meter running track, there is a lot of green parts, but there's also a lot of area for relaxation, drinking a beer or having a afternoon lunch or dinner looking on the green area. And it's also important to say that it also brings something for the residents, local residents, because it's open for public, of course, not just for the shoppers. So actually local residents do not need to walk again 2-3 kilometers away to get to the park, because they have their own park on top of this shopping mall. Further on, another project which I was pretty deeply involved is a small green roof with a small green wall. And this was also designed as an advanced rainwater retention and detention green roof. Having also in the middle a bit of biodiversity. We used the local sedum species which grow here, plus a bit of biodiversity corner or part in the middle. And we have also been, this roof was featuring also the research basically initiated, or we got the idea from the European Pollinator Initiative, where they said we would really like to know what the pollinators are doing on this kind of roofs, which are in industrial, but also close to the fields, which you can see on this picture. And it was really nice to see that in average, we could find all the time at least one pollinator per square meter, but the most we had 11 pollinators per square meter of green roof, which is really massive. And it was also interesting to see that after the local fields have been harvested, we have seen a massive increase of the solitary bees, because the area around actually became a pollinator desert. There was no food whatsoever, so all the solitary bees were coming to the green roof and to the green wall just to have the the food, which basically means the green roofs really work for biodiversity increase and to support the pollinators, which are, we all know in Europe, sort of a bit dying species, especially in the cities. And at the same time is also the entire roof is also open space where people can have meetings, people can have a bit of a relaxation. Two more examples from some from Austria and from Slovenia. One is from the rooftop garden in one of the schools, where they are actually growing different type of herbs and vegetation, similar concept than on the roof, which I showed before. And the second example on the right side, this is from Austria, from Vienna, where this is the rooftop of the area where the Austrian Association for Green Roofs has been placed. And it's basically, it gives a lot of shadow, a bit of evaporation of the roof, cools down the area, so it's easy to work for the people. And maybe how we also do promote, as you know, maybe you know that Ljubljana was the green capital of Europe in 2016. What we try to do is really to promote the green infrastructure. So together with one of the local NGO, we constructed a roof which has a bus which has a green roof on top. So we are trying to teach the people. So it's a place where people can come, can learn different things about the city, local environment, but also why the green roofs and green infrastructure is so important. Then maybe just to touch a bit, it was great to hear a lot of researches that are being done around the globe, also the recent one from Jennifer. So I just put here three reports which we do. So in 2014, we started an in-depth research on different type of green roofs in comparison to the regular roofs. It was really in-depth search looking into every aspect, what is affecting the effect, what is giving the effectiveness of the green roof. So after 5 years of in-depth research of compiling data, we are now able to model the performance of green roof for basically any type of the roof on the world. We are able to calculate the energy efficiency of the roof on different type of settings. We are able to do the heat island effect calculations, and we are pretty confident by statistical means, more than 95% confident that we are able to tell what will be the storm water retention of the roof on different cities. And maybe just to show the example from the capital of Ljubljana, where I live, which is, by the way, the most wet European EU capital in EU by the amount of water, but it does not have a lot of rainy days. It has, but much less than, for example, than Brussels, and then most probably Mechelen as well. So it's half less rainy days, but it's more than 150% more of the rain. So we are able to calculate how much, this is just one design of the roof, how much water we could retain in Ljubljana. So it's 45%. Of course, with different settings, you can go to 60, but this is just an example. We are able to, basically on the 20-year historical data, we are able to model what will happen with the rain on the roof, how much per month there will be rain, how much will be runoff. And what we are able to do is actually sort of a model when the major runoffs will happen. So this means that we know exactly when the green roof will be saturated to the full and when it will be dry. So obviously, when it's fully saturated, then the runoff happens. And for example, a good example is storm from last year, where we had in Ljubljana, and why we need to have a green roof, where we had in Ljubljana in 1 hour, 120 liters of water per square meter, which is 12 centimeters, or in the terms of the inches, that's 5 inches in an hour. So it's a massive rain. And of course, when this happens, even we have huge sewage system because we are used for big storms, it was not coping. So a lot of areas in Ljubljana were underwater, and this is happening maybe not every year, but it's happening more and more. And just to show the different examples, the same type of the green roof that we model, the one you have seen from Ljubljana, but if you model for Paris, Brussels, Singapore, Istanbul, you can see that the retention is much different because, of course, the climate is different. So that's why it's important. So the green roofs are a superb tool to handle storm water, to do a lot of different things, but you need to do it really country or knowing what is the specific climate condition in specific area. And also because we store so much water, we all know that we also can model that, how much will this cool the rooftops on the green, which is also then positive for the solar panels, what we have seen, but also for cooling down the cities. This is a specific example for the Brussels area, where actually you could have, again, if it is black roof against green, it's a bigger difference. If you have so-called white roof, which if it is not clean becomes gray, the difference would be maybe 20 degrees, but it's still something. So yeah, that much I would say from my side. If you want some more details, feel free, to send me an email, and I can give you a bit more in depth on our researches or the things we do. Thanks.
Wow, thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Jure. Very interesting presentation, and very interesting actually this monitoring, these reports that you have presented. So Jure, can we can model any city in Europe or in the world?
Yeah, we can model basically any city in Europe because we are extending the study. So partly supported by Eureka, we are doing now similar studies in Netherlands. Also, we are also doing a study already in Australia. We are collaborating with Green Roof Diagnostic, which Anna was speaking in the morning. We are doing the similar research in I don't know in how many places I know we do it in Virginia for sure. So we are modeling different type of the same type of modeling or testing for the modeling in different parts of the world, and we have been doing this now consistently from 2013.
Okay, thank you very much, Jure. Well, I would like to go, Patrick, back to you. To get some more information about this scheme, scheme to support the installation of green roofs in Mechelen. Give us more information so we can use it perhaps also as a reference in our advocacy effort.
Yeah, we give subsidy to everyone who wants to put a green roof on his roof, and it has to be at least 6 square meter, but it can be a lot more. It's for extensive green roofs, not for intensive green roof. That's another system that we use for it, and you can get €31 per square meter. A premium, that's a lot. You may install it yourself. That's also possible. And you can ask it even 3 months after you have installed it. We are coming at the place, at the home, and we have a look, and then we pay it. It's very easy. You can ask it by the website. You you transform your facturations, and the only thing we are going to at the place, we take a photo, we look if everything is okay, and then you get the subsidy. But, and that's perhaps a little bit strange, I'm saying it, we are going to stop with it. And why are we going to stop with it? Because we are going to obligate it for every roof. That's because we have done it for 15 years, 20 years, something done that subsidy. But now we are changing our, adjust our building code. And in that building code for the city, we oblige to do that. So all the owners who have done already, they get some subsidies, but now we are going to oblige it. That's different only for, we have a lot of experience with this. We have already a lot of green roofs in Mechelen, but it's now the moment to change a little bit. It's more the vertical green terraces we are now going to subsidize and so on, but it's the roofs we say now it's obliged, or you have to do the work with water retention or eatable roofs and so on. And it's always, you have to choose what you do with your roof, because we also have done research, and we see that in the areas where there are a lot of green roofs, or where there are a lot of green possibilities in our city, we have a reduction of the high temperatures in the summer of 4 degrees. So we think it's very important we don't subsidize it anymore, but say it's necessary to do it. If you build something, or if you change or do a renovation, you have to put a green roof on it, and to work on rainwater retention and so on. That's how we are working now. But it's still possible for 2 years, but after that we are going to oblige it.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Very, very interesting. Jennifer, I'd like to come back to you with the 2 questions actually. The first one is, recently I was following a bill, I think it was in the state of Washington, I'm sorry, I don't remember now the details. It was about making mandatory green roofs on certain types of buildings. And I remember that during the discussion, there was quite a lot of debate about actually the big discussion was about the percentage, how to use the roof, which percentage to be green, which percentages to be solar, and also which percentages of the roof to be used for horticulture, for agriculture, urban farming. Which is the situation in the States? I mean, can you give us more? Because I think we actually anticipate that such a discussion could also will become relevant also here in Europe. Because we have unfortunately Ruth didn't manage to connect, but she was mentioning REPowerEU. We have an energy crisis. We have energy and climate targets. So I think there is an obvious and necessary push for solar installations. I mean, we need to get out of our dependence from fossil fuels, but at the same time, we actually need holistically, we need this combination. But it's inevitable that if there is a target for climate and there is no target for biodiversity or for green, of course, that there is an unbalance there. So, I mean, I'm very interested in understanding what's going on in the States. I don't know if you have some feedback for us.
Yeah, I do. So there is a lot of policy work at many levels in the US, but actually in North America in general. But most of them do not combine green roofs and solar panels. You're correct. It was the state of Washington. State Senator Mona Das was the one that had recommended. Her and I had conversations about this concept of rooftop agrivoltaics, and that just lit her up. But as usual in our politics, they get caught up in the details. We had a similar situation about 5 years ago when I helped as a technical advisor on our city of Denver. Most of the initiatives have been so far at the city level, very parallel, I think, to most of Europe. But now there is more emphasis at state and national levels. So Washington State's an excellent example. They got caught up in the details, but I think it's coming back. So it's going to be slow, but we're already noticing. I'm actually presenting on the topic of our policy on green roofs in Denver, in Jerusalem next month, because there is so much interest on it. It's our policy work was based on Toronto's mandate, because we have the same parallel set of criteria. So the combination of rooftop and solar has not gained enough traction yet, but green roofs in general and solar, rooftop solar in general, have both done really well. It's the combination that is yet to be realized.
Yeah. No, then this confirms what is happening here in Europe. This morning, we also discussed another law, for example, that in France is mandating green roofs on certain type of building of certain dimension, but there is an either or with photovoltaic. So I think the problem is there. I think we as a community, I think we might do a big. We provide a lot of support to decision makers if we can come up with some ideas on how to technically and maybe also, I think important, economically split or use the roof at its best. You know, I think that would be. I mean, if there is anything you can, you know, in the framework of your research that you can share, please let us know so that we can. I mean, we can also do some work and provide some feedback within the context of the World Green Infrastructure Expert. We have several experts there, and I think we can exchange on this, and that would be very useful. I think it is an information that decision makers need to actually take this to decide, to legislate in this, to take informed decision in this area. Okay. I think we are nearly there in terms. I mean, we only have a few minutes left. Jure, I see you have raised your hand. Please.
Yeah, just actually a question to Laura. You know, and it's a question we get all the time, because you know, where I live, we don't have Bosco Verticale, but I think we have Bosco Horizontale. This was the design which was built in 1968 to 1974, and it was green in the same sense, you know, trees, and maybe I can just share a picture. And the question would be, let me just share a picture to you. So, do you see it? Not yet. Do you see it? You know, so this is actually a lot of lines of the 3-story buildings, which used to be all green. And of course, people have to maintain that. It still is nice. You walk through, you know, in the urban area, it's like a forest. It's really like a forest, but there is less and less of green because people need to maintain it. It's coming a bit back because it's becoming trendy, but how is, you know, the Bosco Verticale, how is maintained? Do they do it from the outside? Do they do it on their own? How do you do it, really?
No, there's a common maintenance program that now is, so it's easy to say, but it wasn't easy to convince the client, okay, because I don't want to waste your time remembering how it was difficult to convince the client that it's not so dangerous and so on. The maintenance has been done by specialized arborists, because the Bosco Verticale in particular hosts 700 trees, so they are climbing down once per year, working with ropes on the facade, and this is made just once per year, so it's not a big deal for the people, not so much. Is now let me say an appointment between the people living in the building and the arborist, because they talk, they know, they recognize, they discuss how is my tree. So it's a community. It's a community between trees, people who are in charge of this system, and who is in charge for care and maintenance. In our experience, we can easily deal. Surely there are problems. The problems are mostly related to the efficiency of the irrigation system that has to be well designed. But now, in the recent times, we have a lot of opportunity to have a remote controlling, so something that wasn't available for us 10 years ago, and more than 10 years ago when we started the design of this greening. I want just to point out that this is not an alternative to the woodlands. Is an opportunity that could be taken or not. Going taller, it means free the space, and in this case, you in 1,000 more or less a square meter, you have 12,000 of green surface, and all the benefits are related to this possibility to increase the green surfaces for people, for being seen and looking at the changes, and for biodiversity, for the climate of the city. So it's an opportunity.
Thank you.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Laura. Well, I wanted to actually now move to nicely to close this this session and the day. First of all, I don't want to forget to send really all my big thank you to my colleagues Santa and Milena, Matteo and Antonella at different level have been involved with developing this amazing program, 4 sessions with 24 speakers, very, very high level, member of parliament, institutions, experts. This has been really a wonderful journey. Was the 2nd edition. This means that we look forward to organize future editions. So I will give you all rendezvous for the next year for the 3rd edition. Again, thank you very much, and also a big thank to World Green Infrastructure Network, and in particular Professor Kohler, that also was with us this morning to open the day, and just to give a few considerations on this important agenda. Well, thank you very much again, and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.